It's deep fakes, which means it can replicate anything. So the only thing, in my opinion, that has a moat around it is gold on one side, religion for people, and then Bitcoin. Those are the only three moats I'm aware of where people actually just believe.
Today's deep dive, we'll unpack Jordi Visser's revolutionary thesis, exploring how AI, energy, Bitcoin, and wealth concentration are converging to redefine capitalism, why the Mag 7 companies broke the correlation between growth and debt, and how the next global reset could unfold. Historically, growth in capitalism has always been powered by debt. Companies borrowed to expand, governments borrowed to build infrastructure, and individuals borrowed to buy homes and consume. Please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. You can also check out our other videos on cryptocurrencies and the overall digital asset space, and drop your comments and observations in the comment section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
The internet, the smartphone. Basically, this isn't about necessarily AI. People need to think about innovation as when is the end game. So at first you get so efficient that you don't need debt, and that's what the Mag 7 were. They didn't need debt to get to the size they are. I just want to reemphasize again, these companies did not need debt to grow to the size they are. It's an amazing thing to think about, but you broke the historical correlation between debt and growing your business. Now you're breaking the historical correlation between the concept of GDP, which is a statistic created during the Industrial Revolution, and human intelligence, or people working. Theoretically, you could have an economy that has nobody working, theoretically, in, I don't know, 50 years, 35 years, and we might be there. Along the path between now and, let's say, 35 years, if that were to occur, a new system needs to be born, because the current system, whether it's the fiat system or the industrial economy, is no longer relevant. You can see that with the concentration of wealth that's been created. So the reason I bring up Bitcoin as the end game is that it's part of the future system. So the reason that we have 1% controlling 33% of the net worth in the United States is because those people don't own any fiat cash. They own assets. Those assets are all valued, where if everyone tried to sell them, they have no value. It's about a Ponzi scheme, meaning you want to sell that, someone else needs to buy it. Bitcoin is the opposite side of it. It is a system that is not based on leverage. It is a system where it is being driven right now by the minority. So I saw a recent thing that I put in my video where I forget, the Bank of America did a survey in one of their fund manager surveys, and it was like 0% of the people had any weighting to Bitcoin still. These are wealthy people. So the people who own Bitcoin, again, for the majority of them in terms of the people numbers, they're at the lower end. And I meet those people. I met you, John, at one of those events. I meet them at Robinhood. I'm fascinated by how many people, plumbers, electricians, cops, watch Anthony Pompliano. They speak about Bitcoin. They speak about all of these things. That does not come up on Wall Street. So AI to me is the perfect side of the disruption of fiat assets. And so I always say this, let's just pick real estate and not pick something that is financial. Because I think most people could say, well, I think stocks are worthless and bonds are worthless. Okay, but real estate's worth something. Okay, so if real estate's worth something, what is the value of a house on the Hamptons? If it cost X amount of dollars to build, you get insurance. They have a part that's the land and they have a part that is the house itself. Well, if humanoids can go build the house for zero, how much is the house next to it worth? Well, then it's just the land. How much is the land of an overall house? You're going to get to the point over time that people are going to realize that fiat assets are not worth what they're supposed to be in a time of replication. And that's what AI does. It's deep fakes, which means it can replicate anything. So the only thing, in my opinion, that has a moat around it is gold on one side, religion for people, and then Bitcoin. Those are the only three moats I'm aware of where people actually just believe. Everything else is an idea. And I think all ideas are about to be disrupted by AI. Good question. The one thing I know is that the demands from AI are going far faster than what was anticipated. And so the gigawatts that will be needed are going faster, even though the efficiency gains are happening at a fast pace. And it's one of the interesting things about this is that people try to come up with simple solutions to this, meaning, oh, if we just get efficiency gains in the architecture of the semiconductor chips, or in the architecture of some of the designs, like what happened with DeepSeek at the beginning of the year, we'll be able to satisfy the power needs. The reality is that is all complete speculation, and all we know is that the model releases continue to be hogs in terms of energy usage. I'm sure many people watching have at least heard the term tokens, but the token needs have gone up exponentially, both in US and the China. In the case of the US, famously, and I wrote about this, Google talked about their token needs being up, 90 times in the span of 1 year. And in China, ByteDance just talked about similar type numbers that were happening. So this is not just a US situation, this is China and the US. And yes, China has spent more money. The US has spent a lot of money on the energy side as well. I mean, we did create a lot of gigawatts over the course of the last few years. But the problem is the demand side for AI is the place that I write about. The demand side is exponential. And so every time I get into a conversation with people about, well, the supply side is going to catch up, there is no indication of it at all. And in this week's video, I just went through Micron's recent earnings report, which Jensen Huang said on the BG2 podcast, and entered all that information, the transcript and the Microsoft information and the Broadcom information and the Oracle information and all of the hyperscalers from their most recent earnings reports, where they talked about capacity needs on the cloud. And the end result was that we have no signs anywhere in the supply chain that we're going to be able to meet the demand that has gone through with AI. So I think for people listening, I'll just continue to say concentration is both a negative but a positive. If you have concentration, you don't have to go look very far to find the areas to invest in. I think for the next few years, it's all about compute and power. I don't think consumption is going to get better all of a sudden. And most of the economy in the US is consumption. So consumption is fine. You brought up UBI. We already have UBI. It's called the 1% owning 30-something% of the assets. The bottom 50% are guaranteed to have a job they hate, but they have a job. And it's just, we're on UBI. It's a horrible form of it. The transfer payments continue to grow. That's why Bitcoin ends up being the end result for me, that I go through this long road to end up in the same place. But the power needs are going to be running into a lot more problems next year, based on the fact that so far all we've used is excess capacity, and now we're trying to build more. I think you can spend your time looking throughout the power side. You're going to be able to make money on it. One place in particular that I would highlight, gas turbines. Just go look up and ask how big the backlog is. Ask how long it takes to make them. Ask how few are in the world. And the issue that pops up on that is, you'll see, is that you end up in a situation where we're not going to be able to deal with natural gas for all of the problems, which means the PMIs are going to go higher because the tide lifts all boats. We're going to have to find every potential solution, and there's going to be a lot of private sector dollar that's flowing into this, because the administration has allowed you to deal with the CapEx side in a better accounting framework. And I think you're going to continue to see a lot of dollars put into this. At some point, we will overbuild that as well, because I'm sure the efficiency gains will catch up, but we're not there yet.
As Visser notes, Bitcoin is driven by the minority, and that's precisely why it's powerful. Because revolutions never start at the top, they begin at the edges of the system.
To be honest with you. So I'm sure most people saw VO3 when it came out. This is obviously not curing cancer, but VO3 and making videos, the fact that the only way you could do it is if you pay $200 a month, and even then you only get a certain amount of times a month that you can do it for 8 seconds. That just says that we don't have enough compute for any of this. So we're kind of in that situation that you're describing already, meaning it's not cancer, it's not this, but they don't have enough capacity to allow you to do what you'd want to do. And so, I'm a lateral thinker when it comes to connecting dots back and forth. That's why I keep saying, for people who are fading AI at this point and thinking it's just going to run dead, the reality is video is such a hog in memory usage, and to actually get to the point of cancer, we need more compute. We're going to need more power for it. I just think we're already kind of in that situation, and we're making choices that necessarily they don't want to make. OpenAI could be offering a lot more things right now. Google Gemini could be offering a lot more things right now. They're just not capable of it at this point. And I think that's going to be a factor that slows down the progression of it. The demand will be there. The ability of getting all that done is going to take more time. And that gets us back to the concentration problem. Longevity is going to explode higher, and people are going to live longer. On my morning walk today at 6 a.m., which I do most days if I'm not working out somewhere else, I was having a conversation with ChatGPT about solving Elon Musk's problem of not having enough people, meaning not the birth rate not growing. And I just asked a simple question: if people are going to live beginning in 25 years, another 80 years longer, do we actually need any more people? And these are the types of questions that you can have a conversation with ChatGPT again, and it will blow your mind on how even Elon Musk has not thought about putting that through and going what it means, because it does have huge implications when you get into it. So I think there's no way for us to know this stuff, but I just want to emphasize to people, we have a demand situation right now that is so much bigger than what people realize, and it's already been constrained by power, and it's already been constrained by compute. For right now, that's where it is. So on the compute side, I'm in a lot of public areas that my favorite stock for this year was Micron and high bandwidth memory. I am long NVIDIA, recently Teradyne, recently ASML. There's a bunch of semiconductor stocks that to me are about to go higher because of the upgrade cycle that's coming for PCs and phones. Tesla is something that I've talked about relentlessly since the middle of August. And this is an interesting one for people to just pay attention to. Rather than listen to me for advice, I would just say that Tesla is a perfect example of a company that people should be paying more attention to. It is hated in the same way Bitcoin is hated. Elon Musk obviously is thought negatively by most people outside of retail and his little cult following. But the reality is where Tesla has had a vision of robo-taxis and humanoids, we're at the cusp of that now. And we're starting robo-taxis. We're in Austin, and now he's releasing version 14 of his FSD, which he says is going to be the game changer. The main thing people should realize is when they hear Waymo and they hear Tesla, they should understand the difference between the two. And I'll just leave it with this. When Elon Musk says if you take a Waymo vehicle and you put it on Mars, it won't go anywhere. It doesn't know what to do because it doesn't have its directional system. It's like if you went up there without Google Maps. If you go up there as a human being and you want to move around, you're not going to look at your phone, you're going to use your eyes. He's built the cars to make decisions based on its eyes and the cameras. And so if he's successful at that, it changes everything, and it is the step that's necessary for generalist humanoids, which means when you go through the valuation of what the humanoid market would be, the robo-taxi market would be, Tesla's valuation goes up. The second that happens, if it coincides with an upgrade cycle for iPhones and an upgrade cycle for computers, if all that happens next year, expect to see more of a bubble next year.
Visser predicts that if Tesla's FSD version 14 delivers on its promise, it could ignite a new tech bubble, especially when combined with a global upgrade cycle in smartphones, PCs, and AI hardware.